Hi, this is Ryan at Cotton Eye Joe's Backyard Nursery in Weaverville, North Carolina. Today I want to take you on a little tour of the garden and how I'm doing my rows after a couple years of trial and error. So follow me and I'll show you basically what I'm doing. So these are the rows that I do, and I've done all sorts of things. So after trying on this side to do the traditional till method, the thing is I've got super heavy compact clay. I'm on a ridge here. There's really zero topsoil, and I believe the last owners, this house is almost 100 years old. I believe this section was used as a garden, and there was a lot of heavy machinery through here. I assume he probably plowed. In fact, this whole area, I think there was sugar cane on one side and tobacco on the other. And then in the latter part of this century, last century, I guess, he was growing greens and traditional Appalachian things. Anyways, bottom line is super heavy clay, almost zero topsoil, good and rich, but no drainage whatsoever. So this section, first I bought an old tiller, and I thought that would do the trick. Well, that didn't even touch it. I couldn't use the thing at all. So ends up being by hand. I ended up with a shovel, and I've tried to dig in and amend the soil, and it's kind of worked. The tomatoes do okay. This is a couple years down the road at this point, but still I'm dealing with things like this, clods of clay. And most of us don't have 5 years to keep doing that same thing and mixing and mixing and mixing. But it's been a good experiment. So after doing this for about a year, I thought, well, I'm just going to start laying out organic matter, that being mulch and compost or manure, anything I can get my hands on as cheap as possible. And that's basically what I've decided to do when I'm creating new beds. So what this is it's a raised bed. It's a raised row, I guess you could say, without walls. So it is higher, and at times it'll be 6 inches high, 8 inches high, and then it'll slowly settle back down. And so the height varies, but it is raised up from the sides. On the sides, I mulch with whatever as cheap as I can find. This stuff here is what I'm getting now. It's about $30 or $200 for a whole truckload. These wood chips are even cheaper. And then in the middle, I put the better stuff and let it just essentially mulch in place, or compost in place rather. So doing that, you can use the broad fork and get in there and loosen up that subsoil, that clay, but you're not digging it into the rest and creating all these clods. And so that's it. This is a raised row, wide raised row. And that's what I recommend anybody do for their gardens if they're dealing with super heavy clay, which is, I would say, 2/3 of us here up in the mountains. The one thing I will say definitively not to do is what's all the rage right now, and that's a hugelkultur. So this right here, I don't know how you spell that, Silas. Hugel. Anyway, I think it's one of those crazy Dutch things. I'm Dutch, so I can say that. So I jumped on board last year, and I was like, well, I've got, this lady I'm doing landscaping with. had these old logs, and the theory is you put the logs underneath and then layer up organic matter on top of it. Well, I gave it a year, came back, logs hadn't changed. It was just a really hard surface of worse than clay underneath a few inches of, nice compost or whatever I had put there. So this year I ended up digging them all out, and I still haven't dealt with it. These are going to get burned. The clay is nutrient rich. I don't see any reason why you should put something that's even harder on top of it. If you put like a nice mulch, even just mulch, a nice bark mulch there on top of your clay, it's going to soften that clay up and allow some drainage and allow those roots to penetrate into the clay and those worms and stuff. So do not add a bunch of hard logs underneath your beds. The other thing I did, of course, was build a raised bed. Actually, Silas and I both did this. We used what are these 1x8s. These are heavy boards. They kind of look good, but I vastly prefer not having the boards, just doing the raised rows. Because what happens is you lose a lot of space. Somehow, from the vegetable, these are asparagus here, having it close to these boards makes it dry out a little faster, and it just impedes the flow of things. So it allows you to it just feels like it cuts out a lot of your room for almost no reason. Like, it does look a little nicer, I guess, if you were doing a show garden or something, but as far as like most of us go, just do an old-fashioned in the ground row and just keep amending that sucker with an organic matter until it's really nice and soft for you. To probably take try and start it a season before. So I'll get some good mulch and some, look for some manure, even if it's horse, and lay that sucker in a year before and start planting. All right, that's I guess that's about it. And I'm at Ryan at Cotton Eye Joe's Nursery in Weaverville. Thank you.